let's talk about third grade ACAP scores. So, a few months back, I did a YouTube video about the Alabama Literacy Act. This was a piece of legislation that was passed several years ago to help support reading in grades K through 3 for public school students throughout our state. There were lots of components to this law, many of which have been very helpful for struggling readers and individuals with dyslexia. But one component of the law that got a lot of attention was the mandatory third grade retention for kids who did not pass the state test in reading, which is called the ACAP. This was the first year that this provision was fully implemented. It was supposed to be implemented 2 years ago, but it was delayed due to the effects of COVID. So this was the first year that kids were potentially going to be held back if they did not pass the ACAP test in third grade. Many teachers, administrators, state staff worked tirelessly to help our third grade students do well on this test. And the results showed some improvements. This is good news. 91% of students passed the ACAP test at level 2 or higher. This is overall promising. However, I think that it might have given us a false sense of security. It's important to keep in mind that the cut scores for the ACAP were lowered by 17 points at the end of last school year. So that means that it was significantly easier to pass the ACAP this year than it would have been in previous years. Specialists who've looked at this and looked at how this law has been implemented in similar states feel that Alabama's results are inflated. Basically, more kids passed than should have if our goal is to make sure that kids are able to read proficiently by the time they get to fourth grade. Another thing to understand is the difference between passing the ACAP at level 2 or higher and being an on grade level reader. Unfortunately, I've seen some confusing materials, some of which have even come out from the State Department of Education. But students who get a score of level 2 on the state test, they are not reading on grade level. Level 2, if you read the description on your child's testing report, level 2 means that they are approaching the standards for that grade, not that they have met them, and definitely not that they have exceeded them. So in my observation and in my practice where I've tested many students, a lot of students who score on level 2, although that is technically passing, when we do more an in-depth battery with them, they are below average and sometimes even far below that in various reading skills. So if your child got a level 2 on the ACAP, celebrate them, be glad they're moving on to third grade. But if you and your gut feel like, I feel like this is higher than they're really reading, trust that gut and follow up with a specialist to find out what's really going on with your child. I've been talking to a lot of parents, and there is a lot of confusion out there. Some parents were getting notices from their child's school that their testing results were low, they weren't doing well in their classes, their intervention was not improving, and they were pretty much expecting their child to need to repeat third grade, but then boom, suddenly they pass the ACAP. And it can be confusing because you feel like on one hand, the school is telling you your child is doing so poorly, you need so much help. But on the other hand, they're passing this important test, the ACAP. So unfortunately, those type of situations did happen this year because they lowered the standard so significantly by lowering it to 17 points. I hope and believe that they will try to raise these standards over the next few years and that the intervention and methods for supporting kids will get better and we will still be able to see a high number of kids go on to fourth grade with no issues. However, if you are concerned about your child and feel confused about your child's ACAP results, I really encourage you to get a second opinion because our ultimate goal as a state, definitely as parents and educators should be, and I think is, to get all kids reading proficiently as soon as possible.